What's up guys, this is Miasin, and I don't know if you feel the same, but sometimes I feel a little stupid for figuring out something a little too late about my own deck, and I feel like I actually could have played the NAWCQ a little better. I mean, not necessarily in terms of technical play, even though even that could have been changed a little bit, but especially in terms of deck building, I could have played my deck, I could have made my deck list a little better, and it's kind of crazy to think, but I think I solved the Crystron deck just a little too late, and now obviously it is completely too late because the K9 engine will change everything. However, if you're watching this and you are planning on playing the European WCQ or like one final event before we get the K9 stuff, this video is going to be extremely relevant for you because I genuinely believe from the bottom of my heart that what I'm about to show you is currently, until we get the K9 stuff, the best way to play Crystron. Now, I'm going to be jumping right into it and obviously explain my thought process as we go, but essentially the goal is to play Foolish Barrel Goods with an interesting starter in this deck that honestly I didn't really give enough credit for, and I think it's a better card than I initially thought it would be. So yeah, Foolish Barrel Goods, it can send any spell or trap, and in this instance, you can send Clockwork Knight, and then Clockwork Knight can search any Earth Machine, and Scrapper Cycler is an Earth Machine. So obviously, Foolish Barrel Goods with any discard, I think you can understand where this is going, but Scrapper Cycler is the exact same thing as drawing Crystron Smyger, although you can kind of argue that it plays a little harder into Imperm, although it doesn't really change anything, because if you do get Impermed on the Sulfid Hole, it's not like you're doing much of anything. It's just that at least you have follow-up, but in this instance you don't. And obviously both plays lose to Ash. However, if your opponent takes the bait and ashes the Scrapper Cycler, that's better in your favor. So this is the final end board. It's 4 disruptions. So we got the Dragster number 1, and then Citri is going to be reviving back a level 5 on the opponent's turn, make a second Dragster, and then we're going to go Cluster, destroy the opponent's card, and then shuffle back the Citri that we used as Synchro Material, that is in the Banished, into the deck. And then we're going to be able to go Tristalos, summon another the Citri that we just shuffled back, and then sync with a level 5 Dragster after negating a spell or trap with it, in order to make Quarren Gondrak. So that's double Dragster Cluster for 1 pop, as well as Quarren Gondrak. So that's 4 disruptions off of 1 single card, and obviously a discard in case it's Foolish Barrel Goods, and if it's Scrapper Cycler, it's only 1 discard. Now, this looks like it adds a little redundancy a little too much redundancy to the deck, but that's actually not too true. Let's get into some really interesting combos that really caught me off guard. So this is the kind of really nice thing that you can do in case you draw a Scrapper Cycler, any Crystron card, and Rivalry of the Warlords. It's really unique, but look at this. It's actually kind of beautiful, I'm not gonna lie. So this time, we're not going to be sending Smyger, we're going to be sending Sofnir, and we're going to be discarding the other Crystron card. It can be any of them, it really doesn't change anything. But yeah, let's just say it's a Cluster, because it doesn't really have an effect in the graveyard. So we're going to be summoning the Sulfidor off of the Sofnir, and then Sulfidor is going to be sending the green and the Smyger. Obviously, it's very interchangeable, regardless of like the discard, it can always lead to the exact same board. And yeah, banish Smyger, search the Inclusion searches the Tristalos, banish the green, summon the Tristalos. There are so many lines where the green comes up because of the ability to summon like another monster from the hand. Yeah, obviously make the Skeletus, recycle back the Cluster that we discarded, and then go for the Clockwork Knight, and for the first time, we can actually use this effect on summon in order to send the Crystron Inclusion and search Clockwork Knight. Now, we don't have that Inclusion on the field so that we can target it and revive back the Sulfid Oil. So we're going to be forced to play differently, but it's completely fine. Every path leads to Rome. Destroy the Skeletus with Tristalos' graveyard effect, and then summon the Thistvern, the Sofnir, and then Skeletus revive back the Tristalos from the Banished. And then destroy the Thistvern on the field to revive back the Sulfid Oil, and then overlay for Nova into Infinity, Inclusion, revive back the Thistvern, self-destruct in order to summon the Citri. And that's infinite disruptions. No single deck can break this, because you got Clockwork Knight and Rivalry, which is Exodia, in case you couldn't tell. So every monster on the field becomes Machine, and all of your monsters gain 500 attack and defense, and all of your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. So it's going to be pretty tough for your opponent to deal with this. But just in case it couldn't get any better, each player can only control one type of monster, and unless you're playing like against the Machine deck, this means that your opponent can only control one monster at a time. So the fact that you've got Infinity with like all of these cards that do not clash whatsoever with Clockwork Knight and Rivalry really makes this combination of cards absolutely filthy, and it's actually kind of easy to achieve. You don't really need too much, so it's a really nasty combo. And again, there's like no bricks needed, and just in case you draw Clockwork Knight, let's see what you can do. So in this instance, my hand is maybe not the best. I drew like both of the Foolish Barrel Goods targets, so a little bit of a spoiler, but it was kind of obvious, as well as a Crystron Thistvern. It's not necessarily the best monster to open with because it's not a starter, but the good news is a Clockwork Knight is a continuous spell card, And again, it also has a graveyard effect, which allows us to further the developer board even more. So this is actually going to be a really nice end board, even though it doesn't look like it's going to be good. So yeah, normal summon the Thizvern, destroy the Clockwork Knight, summon the Tristalos, and then synchro summon for any level 5 machine synchro monster. You could actually go into Amatrix or into the Super Heavy Samurai monster to recycle back a Crystron card, a machine monster from the graveyard to the hand, but whatever, let's just assume that you don't play those cards. But yeah, Tristalos, destroy whatever monster, and then summon the Tristalos as well as the Sulfidol. If your opponent held the Imperm for this, he's really gonna have to regret it, because you can change Tristalos and then summon like a Citri, and then make an Skeletas, and then you don't lose to hand traps. But yeah, send the Smygre as well as the Sofnir, and then Smygre into Inclusion, search the cluster, and then Clockwork Knight, discard your other card. It's even more value if it's the Black Gold Laughs, and you can search Regulus. So you got two really interesting Earth Machine search targets, which means there's never redundancy issues, because if you draw Scrap Recycler, then your Clockwork Knight is searching the Regulus. If you drew the Black Gold Laughs, you got like an easy discard target. It's just such a good like package overall, and it's also a board breaker package, because Foolish Burial Goods going second, you can send Black Gold Laughs and then banish it and then call Razor Detonator, and then you don't have to deal with like one of the most oppressive semi-boss monsters in the game. Now we're gonna be going Regulus, equip back the Sofnir, and this is like insane, by the way. You're gonna understand why in just a second. Yeah, let's Skeletas, recycle back the Smygre, and then Sulfidol, destroy the Sofnir that is equipped, and then trigger its effect. Beautiful synergy, summon the Prassiodol from the deck, and then discard the Smygre that we just recycled back of the Skeletas to revive back the Sofnir, and destroy the Skeletas to revive back the Tristalos, and then synchro summon into Dragster, and then Prassiodol, destroy the Inclusion to summon the Citri, and then Inclusion revive back the Tristalos, and then we're going to be calling it a turn. So we can have one Disruption with the Dragster, and then the Regulus is an Omni Negate, so it's basically Cyber Dragon Infinity in this context. And then we're going to be able to free up one zone, which means that Citri can revive back a level 5, and then we can make a second Dragster, and then Cluster, destroy something, shuffle back the Citri, Tristalos, summon back the Citri, make Quarn Gondrax. So that's double Dragster, Quarn Gondrax, Cluster Pop, and then Regulus, as well as potentially Black Gold Last in the graveyard. So we're looking at potential 6 disruptions in case there's the Black Gold Laughs in the grave, but otherwise this on the field is 5 disruptions, which is absolutely filthy. I think I can count 2, 3. Oh, look, 2 Dragsters, 1 Quarn Gondrax, 1 Cluster, so that's 4, right? And then 1 Omni Negate. Yeah, that's 5 disruptions. I'm not that stupid, alright? But yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, let's get into the deck profile. Alright, for the deck list, like I said, I think this is a super clean and absolutely beautiful, visually stunning deck list, right? Like, on paper, it looks like the kind of deck list that would win, like, an event, because it has a lot of hand traps, it has a lot of consistency cards, but the best thing about this deck is the fact that Foolish Burial Goods is the kind of card that overlaps as a starter, you know, a potential extender, and the board breaker, and it really reminds me of, like, X-Raziel in the Raziel deck. That card does everything for you. Like, it gets your stuff going, it keeps you extending, it breaks boards, like, it does your laundry, it washes your dishes, like, bro, like, what else can you ask for, like, from X-Raziel? And Foolish Burial Goods in this deck is basically your X-Raziel in a way, right? You have to break a board, no worries, I got you. Send the Black Gold Laughs. You gotta get your stuff going, no worries. Send Clockwork Knight. You're going first against the Raziel deck, no worries. Send Mischief of the Gnomes and Turnscape the crap out of them. You don't need Triple Tactic Thrust, no problem. And I think this is something that I failed to acknowledge before, and I do feel a little stupid for that, because honestly, if I knew this before, I definitely would have played this version for the NEWCQ. I wouldn't have played it for the other events, just because Pyrelia was not, like, super popular or whatever, but... Or rather, it's like, you didn't really need, like, that many non-engine, and I really wanted to play, like, the Kashtira cards for going first. But I think, right now, if you need a lot of non-engine to survive, 15 hand traps, plus, you know, 3 Foolish Burial Goods, which can, like I said, be board breakers, and, you know, like, Call by the Grave, and etc., and all that stuff, that allows you to have, like, 11 starters, as well as potentially 19 non-engine, which is definitely what we're looking for. And then for the Crystron lineup, I'm obviously not going to be covering it, because until we get the K9 stuff, this is always going to be correct. And honestly, it always has been. Like, if you're not playing Prassiodol, you're behind. I'm transforming myself into Pachna right now, but not really, because I actually play the card. There you go. It's not that, just kidding. Pack is the GOAT. But yeah, whatever. 40 cards, do not ever play more than 40. I played 41 at YCS Keto, and I kind of wanted to KMS. It didn't really feel too good, but the 41st card was Call by the Grave. You know, I kind of get a pass. Kind of, not really. Anyways, for the extra deck, pretty much the exact same extra deck. The only difference is that this time there's no, like, you know, a Zombie Vampire, or Snake Eyes Doom Dragon, or Ice Jade bullshit, or Galaxy S Photon Lord. This time we have more synchro options. So Centurion, Legatia, sometimes it comes up, not really often, but sometimes you're gonna feel happy about yourself because of the fact that you've got, you know, a big boy, 3500 attack, that can draw a card, that can also destroy something on the field. So, you know, sometimes you're kind of fed up of, you know, having useless dragsters on the field, and you're like, bro, I just want to summon like a big monster that can do a lot of things. And Legatia can be one of those big synchro monsters. You're not going to be going into this card too often though, like I said. Anyways, Navy Dragon Mech. This card is a level 9 synchro monster that you can make on your opponent's turn using Citry if you target the L Skeletus. And essentially, whenever this card is special summoned, you can target face-up card your opponent controls up to the number of tuners in your grave, and then you can negate their effects until the end of this turn. So it gets even better after like you hand trap your opponent, if you got like Tristalos in the grave, but Citry does get banished alongside the monster that is used for the synchro material. So unfortunately, it's not going to count the Citry, but it's not the end of the world. And also, if the synchro summon card is destroyed by card effect and sent to the grave, you can recycle back a tuner in your grave. So if you had to like Ash like an opponent's Chummy on turn 1, and then like you like this card dies on your opponent's turn, you can recycle back the Ash and then use it again. So it might come up every now and then, but don't really count on this too much. But yeah, fantastic deck list. And then for the side deck, I also think the side deck is really clean as well. So the one of Regulus that is easy searchable by Clockwork Knight, this makes a lot of sense, right? And it's just overall a really good card. Right? We never have enough Omni Negates. Cyber Dragon Infinity is a really good one, but what about Theron King Regulus? Like, you just side this one in when you're going first. That way, if you have like a lot of consistency cards, then at least you can make Regulus on top, you know? We never say no to that. And then Mischief of the Gnomes, this is also like a way you can turn skip your opponent in case your opponent's trying to turn skip you. So if you get Chummied or Drilled or whatever, Lanciad, when it hurts, you can still go, okay, Foolish Real Goods, send Mischief of the Gnomes, pass turn, there we go, you can't kill me, and the next turn, I kill you. So I think this card's really goated. And then Rivalry of the Warlords, because you can search the Clockwork Knight. So if you draw this card, you win, but obviously it's kind of like Anti-Spell Fragrance, it's an unsearchable one of. You could play Prosperity, and then try to dig for like 6 cards, because honestly, the extra deck now is pretty loose. It's very easy to banish like 1 or even 2 level 5 Synchro Monsters with these 2 cards. And then, you know, Clockwork Knight, Typhon. So I think Prosperity is definitely something that you could consider right now. I think this deck is consistent enough for the most part, and I really did want to play, you know, 3 Foolish Goods with the Clockwork Knight, the Blackout Laughs, and the Earth Machine to go alongside the Clockwork Knight. And then for the other cards, I mean, Dominus Impulse, when you're going second, you're typically trying to side out of this package. But I mean, I guess you could keep it. And if you don't want to play Dominus Impulse, no problem. Just play something else. It's also pretty expensive. So yeah, if you want to play, I don't know, Ghost Bell or some random stuff, I don't even know. I really don't know. You can play Forbidden Droplet instead. Whatever. The world is your oyster. Especially since this is a water deck. There's Molchemy Meows, yeah, obviously for like Memento and Malice. And then Artifact Lancia for Malice and Crystron. And then the Bestial Monsters for like Mitsurugi and stuff like that. Obviously, the site deck is going to change quite a lot once we get the K9 stuff. And by the way, updated K9 Crystron combo video and deck profile coming up real soon, so stay tuned. Yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know how you feel about this new Crystron innovation. I know I'm a little too late, but like my grandmother always said, better late than never. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.